I speak to Rami Khouri, who's a distinguished public policy fellow at the American University of Beirut. He joins us live, also from New York. Lots of questions for you, Rami, this hour as the UN Security Council holds its emergency meeting following Israel's attacks on Doha. And we just heard the US representative there saying that Donald Trump has reassured Qatar that Israel will not carry out any further strikes. And earlier we heard Benjamin Netanyahu saying that Israel could or would strike again.
Well, Maria, this is typical for this kind of situation and for discussions at the Security Council where countries repeat their positions, which are already pretty well known. The problem with the Security Council is that it has the veto mechanism. So the 5 permanent members can veto anything and block any action. And that's why there's so much focus now all over the region and the world on how to use the General Assembly in a situation where the Security Council is blocked, which the UN Charter makes accommodation for. There's a part of the Charter says that the General Assembly can have a uniting for peace resolution, and this was used in Korea and I think one other situation. But this idea that people can expect the U.S. suddenly to change its position and pressure the Israelis to stop these attacks all over the place is really quite naive, and most people don't expect that to happen. And certainly very few people put any credence in any promise from the United States, especially after the U.S. over the last 3-4 years, alongside with Israel, has made a promise and then ignored it, or
Rami,
made a commitment.
On that point, don't you wonder if there are any red lines for the UN Security Council? And we've heard so much direct criticism of the UN Security Council by some of the members there. And we even have, we're waiting to hear from the Prime Minister of Qatar, Mohammed bin Abdulrahman bin Jassim Al Thani, who is there himself. And there is a very strong representation from the region, from Turkey, from the UAE, from Egypt. What impact could that have, especially the Prime Minister of Qatar being there?
I think the Prime Minister being there is a symbol and a signal from all the GCC states, the Gulf Cooperation Council, the 6 Arab states, that this is a really important moment for them. This is something they take very seriously. Their sovereignty has been breached, their security has been threatened, and most people think that what happened in Qatar can happen in any other country in the region. And when it did happen in Saudi Arabia a couple of years ago, when some of the Yemeni forces attacked an oil facility in Saudi Arabia, the United States did nothing. Trump did nothing. And they're supposed to have a close security relationship. So I think the signal coming from these Arab officials attending is that this is a very serious moment. It's more serious than previous normal kind of situations where Israel attacks Syria or attacks Lebanon or attacks Yemen. The trouble
Rami,
is that
just to jump in, sorry to jump in, we know it's a more serious moment, but really, do you feel that Arab countries can actually, for once, be emboldened and really come together? As you say, this is different. This was an attack on foreign soil, an attack on the mediator. And we heard from the Russian ambassador there saying Israel could strike any other city around the world right now. But how much is at stake for Arab countries to actually go against Israel, given that the US is such an ally to Israel and such an ally to Arab countries? And so many of them depend on US aid, on US assistance, on US trade.
That's right. This is the problem. And then much of the military equipment that Arab countries have, especially certainly in the Gulf mostly, is American. And they can't operate it properly without American technicians and training and parts, etc. So it's very difficult for Arab countries to take strong measures against the United States. Like in the 1973 war, I remember the Saudis did an oil boycott. They wouldn't sell oil to the U.S. Because of the U.S. helping Israel in the 73 war. So this is the big test, really, of Arab sovereignty, of whether the Arab countries can muster the confidence, the collective will, and the resources to together take a strong position, but they can't do it on their own. They have to have support from people around the world. And I think the intriguing situation now that people are discussing, and I've heard discussions in certain forums I've been involved with in the last couple of days, that people might be looking to China, to the Shanghai Cooperation Agreement, to the Hague group that came together. There's a bunch of countries around the world, medium and some big size, and some small ones, that are serious about trying to do something about ending the Gaza war and seeking justice in Palestine. And justice means both for Israelis and Palestinians, that both people would have their national rights and statehood in some form that they would have to negotiate. So this is what we have to look forward to, I think.
And as you say, this is a big test of Arab solidarity, and we have the Qatari Prime Minister there at the UN Security Council. We're looking at him right now on our screens. We're waiting to hear from him. And there is also a summit to be held on the 15th of September in Qatar. What do you expect there from Arab solidarity?
You know, over the last 3, 4, 5 centuries, certainly over the 60 years that I've covered the Middle East as a college student, then as a professional journalist and analyst and academic, there has never been very serious pan-Arab collaborative common action. It's very rare on big sticker items that have to do with Israel or with Western powers. They take symbolic measures. They boycott. They refuse to attend something. They refuse to buy from them. But they don't take any serious measures because they're vulnerable. The Arab countries just don't have the strong economic base, security base. Some of them don't have enough water. They depend on good relations with Israel to get enough water. So this is a real dilemma for the modern Arab world, that we have Arab countries that do many good things and try to help their people, but they just simply don't have the freedom of action to take firm action, because the US and Israel together can destroy any Arab country. It doesn't have to attack it. They can just cut off its trade, they can cut off its oil supplies, they can cut off its water, and they would do it. I mean, they've shown us. If what we've seen in Gaza is important because it's the first demonstration of how the US and Israel working together, with occasionally support from England and Germany and others, how they can not just oppose a party like the Palestinians and Hamas, and they're not just opposing Hamas, they're opposing all the Palestinian people and their concept of nationhood, and not just oppose them, but destroy them, obliterate physically the society that they live in Gaza. And this is a message to much of the region. I wouldn't be surprised if the Israelis carry out something similar to Gaza in parts of Yemen, if the Yemenis keep firing missiles at them and stopping.
Well, they are striking, Rami, aren't they? Israel is striking Sana'a as we speak. As we speak, Israel is, and yes, there has been striking Sana'a and outside the Yemeni capital. I just want to go back to a question that the Under-Secretary General, Rosemary DiCarlo, a point that she made. She said that this potentially opens up a new perilous chapter in the Middle East, and how important it is to preserve those channels of mediation and diplomacy. Where are those channels of diplomacy and mediation right now? Who will become the interlocutor?
Oh, I think the Qataris will maintain their mediation. This is something they've focused on for the last decade and have developed very sophisticated skills and mechanisms and contacts. So they'll probably keep doing it. The problem with the mediation is that the United States is a mediator, but is also the enabler of the Israeli genocide. So they can't, you can't be both the jailer and the prisoner at the same time. And this is one of the reasons why this mediation is getting nowhere. But the mediation definitely has to keep going. But this could also be an opportunity, kind of weird in a weird way. It could be an opportunity to restart a much more serious negotiation and a permanent peace negotiation between the Israelis and the Palestinians, and then all the Arab states. Because it could be that if Israel's actions continue to create such concern and instability and confusion and doubt in the minds of many Arab leaders about the reliability of the U.S. as a partner, and Arab countries start reducing their links with the U.S. and increasing their links with other powers, this could scare the United States very significantly. And if the final thing happens, which is public opinion in the United States reaches a point where its criticism of Israel and Gaza reaches the point where the public starts voting against incumbent politicians, and the Republican Party could lose. If this happens, you might see the United States possibly start quickly modifying its position to try to find a better relationship between both the Israelis and the Palestinians and the Arab region as a whole that is fair to everybody. There's not a huge chance of that happening, but we've seen moments in history where suddenly a big power changes, like, for instance, when Nixon went to China, or when South Africa happened, or the Northern Ireland situation, where suddenly a big change happens, or Gorbachev when he stepped down in the Soviet Union. So these moments can happen once the incumbent politicians feel that maintaining the status quo is going to hurt them more than it's going to preserve them. And we haven't reached that point yet, but there are signals in the U.S., both from the MAGA movement that supports Trump and from the vast majority of the rest of the population, that they're unhappy with the American support of the genocide. They want a ceasefire, they want a peace agreement, and the hostages released and Palestinian prisoners released. Now, those are elements that may come into play, and this is one of the issues that I believe Arab countries now are discussing. How can they promote that kind of process to maybe make a package deal to the United States that gives the United States everything it wants: close relations with all the Arab countries, big defense contracts, trade preferences, whatever the U.S. wants to make money, but at the same time gives the region a sense of stability and the Palestinians a sense of achieving their rights next to the rights of the Israelis, which already exist, but to basically tame Israel and to essentially define and contain Zionism, which has never been contained. So the state of Israel exists. All the Arab countries have accepted to recognize it and live peacefully with it in various peace offers that are still on the table. So there's no doubt about that. But how to move from this situation to peace negotiations and rights for everybody is the huge challenge that nobody has yet been able to figure out how to bring about. Now, this might be a moment that pushes the United States and a lot of other people to move that way because they're so scared of what might happen if we continue on this road.
Rami, as you say, such a decisive moment right now. Thank you very much. Really appreciate your time and analysis on this subject.